I just need to start today by being very clear about something. If you are looking for royal rota propaganda, you have come to the wrong place. I'm just going to be very blunt about that because I've seen the criticism. I don't mind if you want to go and watch Palace Confidential and you want to hear Rebecca English and Richard Eden report talking points that are delivered directly to them.
The British royal family is in crisis, and today the evidence of that crisis has a name attached to it. Sir Clive Alderton, the most powerful unelected figure in the British monarchy. King Charles's principal private secretary for 20 years. The man who controlled the king's diary, shaped his speeches, managed his relationships, and served as the most trusted gatekeeper between the crown and the outside world. The man Prince Harry called the wasp in his memoir, Spare. Sir Clive Alderton has quit, and the establishment press wants you to believe it is because he is turning 60 next year, and it is simply time to move on. Do not believe that for a single second. People do not walk away from one of the most powerful jobs in the world. A remuneration package of £300,000 a year, access to every corridor of power in Britain, a front row seat to history, because they are approaching a birthday. Not in 2026, not when they are healthy and capable and in the middle of a constitutional moment that will define the monarchy for a generation. Sir Clive Alderton has been forced out. And the reason he has been forced out is the same reason that everything happening inside Buckingham Palace right now is happening. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Sir Clive Alderton has, I believe, been standing up for what is right when it comes to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, saying it is absolutely essential that they have no future role in the British royal family. His deputy Theo Rycroft has for some time been propagating for an alternative route, a reunion, a return to the fold. And King Charles has sided with him. Because King Charles is weak when it comes to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, here is what we know. For months, and in truth for years, there has been a war inside the palace about how to handle the Sussexes. On one side, Sir Clive Alderton, a hawk, a man who understood with absolute clarity that allowing Harry and Meghan back into the royal fold without conditions, without accountability, without a public reckoning for everything they have done and said and published and broadcast would be a catastrophic mistake. Not just personally for the family, institutionally, for the monarchy itself. On the other side, Theo Rycroft, Alderton's deputy, a dove, a man who has been quietly, persistently pushing for a different approach. Reconciliation, reunion, return. The argument being that the king's health is uncertain, that time is short, that a father should not die estranged from his son, and that the monarchy is better served by healing than by holding firm. King Charles has sided with Rycroft, and Alderton, the man who protected the institution from some of its worst impulses, who was wise enough and tough enough to quietly pull back the Buckingham Palace accommodation offer when Harry failed to respond in time, who stood as the last line of defense between the Sussex camp and the full rehabilitation they have been seeking is now gone. The smart money in royal circles is already on Rycroft taking the top job. And if that happens, the path is clear, wide open. Every door that Alderton kept firmly shut will now be pushed open, one by one, until Harry and Meghan are standing on the steps of Buckingham Palace smiling for the cameras. Charles doesn't really listen to anyone, except with the massive exception of the public. When they boo him, he doesn't look at polls. He doesn't look at how unpopular Harry, Meghan, and even he are. The only thing he really cares about is when he's doing a walkabout and people come up and boo him and hold up signs. Only then has he actually said, okay, let's take action. Look at what happened with Andrew. Think about what that tells you about how this monarchy is being run right now. The most powerful man in Britain, a head of state, a sovereign, a king, is making decisions that will shape the institution for decades based not on the advice of his most experienced counselors, not on polling data, not on constitutional principle, but on whether people are applauding or booing him during a walkabout. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor was removed from royal duties and stripped of his military titles, not because Charles decided it was the right thing to do, but because the public made their feelings about Andrew completely, humiliatingly clear in public spaces. Charles responded to pressure, not to principle. And the fear, the very serious, very well-founded fear among people who understand how these institutions work, is that the same dynamic is now playing out with Harry and Meghan, that Charles is not making a calculated, long-term strategic decision about what is best for the monarchy. He is responding to the emotional pressure of a son using grandchildren as leverage and a ticking clock on his own health and legacy. Now let us talk about the reporting that is emerging this week, because it goes beyond Alderton's departure. It goes to Balmoral, royal commentator. Sarah Louise Robertson has been reporting that King Charles has not just forgiven Harry and Meghan for everything that has happened over the last 5 years. He is planning to extend an invitation for Harry, Meghan, Archie, and Lilibet to spend time at Balmoral this summer. The king has forgiven, and he is extending an invite later this summer for Harry, with his wife and their 2 children, to spend a couple of days at Balmoral when the king is up there. Balmoral, the Scottish estate that is perhaps the most private, most sacred space in the entire royal calendar, the place where Queen Elizabeth spent her final days, where the royal family gathers away from the public eye, away from the cameras, away from the obligations of official royal life, where they are simply a family. And Harry and Meghan may be going there, a Scottish-looking lake, not the small ornamental lake at Althorpe where Princess Diana is buried, an actual loch. It is possible that Harry and Meghan have already been to Balmoral, that the visit everyone is speculating about for later this summer may have already happened, quietly, during the same trip that included Highgrove and Althorpe, and that Meghan, in her carefully curated way, dropped a single breadcrumb for those paying close enough attention. If that is true, the implications are significant, because Balmoral is not just a house. It is the place where Prince William draws one of his firmest lines in the entire Sussex saga. William has made clear repeatedly, through sources close to his office, that he will not be in the main house at Balmoral if Harry and Meghan are invited to stay there. That line has not moved. Buckingham Palace has always been on the table. He's just now deciding to accept it because, frankly, he's run out of options. And there is nothing more royal, more symbolic than Buckingham Palace. For Harry and Meghan to be seen on the steps of Buckingham Palace, that says, guess what? We are royal. Both things they need. The steps of Buckingham Palace. Think about that image. Think about what it would mean commercially, symbolically, globally. A photograph of Harry and Meghan on the steps of Buckingham Palace. The most recognizable? Building in the British Commonwealth, the spiritual home of the monarchy, the address that every tourist in London, photographs from behind an iron gate, would be worth more to the Sussex brand than anything they have produced since they left the royal family. It would tell every streaming platform, every brand partner, every Hollywood studio, every publisher, these 2 are still royal. The king has accepted them back. The palace has opened its doors. Whatever was said in the Oprah interview, whatever was written in Spare, whatever accusations were made and deals were done and stories were leaked, all of it has been forgiven and forgotten. And Meghan understands this better than anyone. The as-ever lifestyle brand is struggling. The wine is not selling. The jam is a punchline. The Netflix numbers are in free fall. The invitations to the Met Gala and the Emmy Awards and the Oscars are not coming. Hollywood has moved on. The American dream, as commentators on both sides of the Atlantic have been noting for months, has not delivered. But a photograph on the steps of Buckingham Palace, that resets everything. That is not a business decision. That is a brand resurrection. Now let us talk about the visa documents, because this is a story that has been quietly building for months and is about to become very significant. The Heritage Foundation has been pursuing Prince Harry's visa documents through the American courts, specifically documentation that would reveal what Harry disclosed on his U.S. visa application regarding his admitted drug use, which he detailed extensively in his memoir, Spare. They are on a distraction tour. They're leaking constantly, all over the propaganda media like Newsweek and People magazine, about Portugal and the kids' upbringing, and Charles is giving them the ultimate out. When actually, this should have been the moment where Prince Harry and Meghan Markle were facing a very public reckoning for their appalling behavior over the past 8 years. A distraction tour. That is the phrase that has been circulating in royal commentary circles this week. And it fits. Think about the timeline. Court loss against the Daily Mail. Court. Loss against the British government on security. Netflix numbers down. As ever struggling. Hollywood doors closing, and now visa documents about to enter the public domain that could create an extraordinarily uncomfortable situation for a man who has publicly admitted to using cocaine, marijuana, and psychedelic mushrooms, while simultaneously holding a United States visa that required him to disclose his drug history. In the middle of all of that, Highgrove, Althorpe, a possible Balmoral visit, leaks to People magazine about how emotional the family reunion was. Stories in the Sunday Mirror about Harry's feelings. Photographs of Scottish locks dropped quietly into Meghan's Instagram carousel. Every single one of those things generates headlines. Warm headlines, family headlines, reconciliation headlines, grandfather headlines. And every warm headline is a headline that is not about the court losses or the Netflix numbers or the visa documents or the as-ever sales figures. That is not coincidence. That is strategy. And King Charles, either because he genuinely does not see it, or because he sees it and does not care, or because the emotional pull of his grandchildren overrides every other consideration, is enabling it. His most senior aide, the man most capable of saying no to this strategy clearly and confidently, is now leaving. And his replacement is a man who wants to say yes. The news that Sir Clive Alderton is standing down is a huge win for the Bring Back Harry party captained by the king himself, to which Alderton has long been a leading member of the opposition. Theo Rycroft is now in pole position. The king has, we now learn, forgiven and invited Harry, Meghan, and the 2 children to Balmoral. A huge win for the Bring Back Harry party. That is not the language of a royal correspondent speculating. That is the language of someone with genuine insight into what is happening inside the palace right now, and what the departure of Sir Clive Alderton actually means for the months and years ahead. The late Queen Elizabeth understood something that King Charles appears to have forgotten or chosen to ignore. The monarchy survives not by accommodating those who would damage it, but by holding firm on the standards that give the institution its legitimacy. There are people in this story who deserve credit for holding the line as long as they did. Sir Clive Alderton is one of them. He understood what was at stake. He understood that a reunion without conditions was not a reunion at all. It was a surrender. And he said so clearly for years to the man whose job it is to make that decision. The king heard him. The king agreed with him on many occasions. And then the king looked at photographs of Archie and Lilibet and chose differently. Sir Clive Alderton is leaving. Theo Rycroft is almost certainly taking over. The Balmoral invitation has reportedly been extended. Buckingham Palace is being discussed as a future accommodation option, and the visa documents are about to become public. The next few weeks will tell us a great deal about whether the British monarchy under King Charles is an institution capable of defending itself, or whether it is a family that loves its members too much to hold them to account. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Is King Charles making a catastrophic mistake? Or is a father simply doing what fathers do? Subscribe for daily